Okay, so that was the showcase, and now to actually explain the build. I've been planning this for years, and it is finally possible in this league to be a Flame Dash build from Bronze Lathi. So historically we've always had this, and it's had +5 level of socketed movement gems, but with the new Foulborn uniques we have 40% increased cooldown recovery rate of movement skills. Now previously we were still able to get cooldown recovery rate from the passive tree and from the Stampede, which gives us up to 80%, but that still left our cooldown time kind of more over 1.5 seconds, closer to the 2-second mark, and that's just too slow to be reactive to everything that's happening. So this little bit more that we get from Bronze Lathi is what kind of pushes us over the limit into being able to run Flame Dash as our main skill and proliferate across the screen. So what we're also doing is stacking the levels. So we've got +5 on Bronze Lathi with a corruption of +2 to duration gems, so that's +7 off the bat. We get an extra level from our awakened burning damage. We get a staff, ideally with a fractured +2 to level of all spell skills, but you can get a +3 to level of all fire spell skills and then roll it for the all spell. Now my version's not finished yet. What I need to do is to get the currency and to put on a prefix can't be changed and then reforge fire, and hope that we get some better outcomes on this, but we can go a lot further on the staff essentially to get damage. So all in all, this adds up to and also the replica Dragonfang's Flight for an additional 3 levels, bringing us to a level 37 Flame Dash. So pretty crazy on the levels, which means immediately a load of damage, and then the problem to solve becomes how do we survive, and how do we also make sure that we are then spreading the damage, as Flame Dash obviously just goes in a straight line, which is why we go for Ignite and Proliferate. On the helmet we have just life res and nearby enemies with minus fire res. We anoint Fleetfoot on our amulet, which gives us 30% increased cooldown recovery rate of movement skills, which is on the very bottom side of the tree, so completely opposite to where we are. If you do want even more cooldown recovery rate, we can go into these dual wielding nodes, and you don't actually have to be dual wielding to benefit from these, and you can get an additional 30% cooldown recovery rate. But we've brought ourselves down to 1.21 seconds cooldown, and it feels pretty smooth to play. We can pretty much always flame dash around whenever we want to, just a minor delay, and it can keep going and proliferating. In terms of surviving, we have golems, so we've got a bunch of life regen coming from our stone golem, and then we also have our purity of fire to give us additional fire res. And then while I was doing that, I thought why not throw in a righteous fire, which can buff our burning damage even more, because that gives us an additional 44% more spell damage. Ultimately we could do a Mageblood and get melding, which would bring our resistances not just to 90 on the fire res, but up to, I need the resistances on here, so not just up to 90 on the fire res, but with a Mageblood and a permanent ruby flask we could get up to melding, so 90% all res. We are at 74, 75, essentially max block with glancing blows, and the annoying thing about Bronze Lathi is that it's evasion based, and you would really want to do this build either low life energy shield or life, but it's always been a bit tricky, but it does give a nice amount of evasion rating, which we can scale further. Again, if I pop my flasks, then we're up to 12,000 evasion and 4,000 Phys damage reduction. And with a Mageblood we can take that even further. When it comes to the rings, we have a flammability ring on hit, as we are going to be hitting with our flame dash as we go over the enemies. For clearing we use a Bereks Respite, which can obviously proliferate really quickly. If you kill an enemy instantly with Ignite, that then spreads to the next monster, and if your Ignite is almost an instant kill, it can clear a whole screen away. But when we look at single target, we can swap out our rings with no effect on our resistances or anything like that, and we can swap in a Polaric Devastation into our left ring slot, which will cover enemies in ash for 5 seconds when we ignite them, and this will give them 20% less movement speed and 20% increased fire damage taken. So this is our bossing ring, and I haven't fully done bosses yet because this character is level 93. We're on softcore, but the interesting thing is that we are currently deathless. And we're going to tackle some bosses. We are most likely going to die. We're at about 5k HP, so, and no spell suppress, so eventually we're probably going to get crit with a spell and die, but Hardcore viable so far, level 93 pure flame dash. So it's going well, we'll see how far we can take it. When it comes to the passive tree, we have obviously our additional golem is key, bunch of damage over time, multiplier nodes. Elemental overload we're hitting obviously about hitting about every second almost with our flame dash, and therefore that's generally got good uptime when we're against bosses for critting them and giving us 40% more elemental damage. And then other than that, it's just life and fire damage, some staff nodes for block, and then the glancing blows down here as well. 5k is about the maximum life that I've been able to get, and it would go down a little bit with Mageblood, but the extra defenses that we would get would be worth it. But anyway, that's the build so far. We're about to start tackling some bosses, and we'll probably die, but we'll see how that goes. And I'll catch you in the next one.